This is my review on Superman Returns. So, later after Superman left Earth, he comes back, lands on a farm where his mother's waiting, and finds her so happy to know that he's alive. He goes back being Superman. He goes back to being the reporter for the day playing as Clark Kent. Turns out Lois had a son, and with this other guy, and this makes him a little pissed because he accidentally breaks the photo, and Lois doesn't know that Superman's alive and is on Earth until he saves her again from a plane accident, and everyone just all just, "Oh, Superman!" And in the Strong Woman Soon thing starts playing, and as he flies off, is playing while he's flies right off. He really flies very quick, and so this was the first time he actually flew quick. That looked convincing. So human eye, I mean, we saw a little hints in other Superman films where Christopher Reeve could flew fast as Superman, but it only like really hints at. This really shows that he can fly really fast, like faster than a speeding bullet, which is pretty cool. So. I was insecure if she still has feelings for Superman, or she just doesn't want to talk about it. She has an interview with Superman, and he asks where he went. She says Krypton, and she says, "But you told me it was destroyed years ago." And he says, "Yeah, I thought so, but then I saw that it was rebuilt, so I just had to take a look for myself." So he flies with her very slowly and kind of like a little slow at the end. And he says, "What do you hear?" "No one." And he says, "I hear everyone." "You say people don't need a hero and don't need me as Superman, but I hear them every day crying for one." "I'm sorry I left you, Lois. I'll take it back." And he just like flies off, and he sees him that she's happy while cleaning dishes with her, and he starts crying and flies off into the space, and he says, and Father starts speaking to him, and he says, "You may think you're one of them, but you're not. But they can be good people, Kyle. They only left the light to show the way. And that's why I sent you, my son." And it's all, and the song starts going, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, and he starts having trouble, and he flies off to stop it. He stops a car crash, which was Lex Luthor's assistant, and because the brakes really weren't working, but he didn't tell the brakes really weren't going to work, so but I guess she's a bad actor, and then he stops a robbery. And this guy tries shooting Superman in the eye, and Superman smiles like, "Really, I'm Superman?" And he stops that, and Lois and his son get captured by Lex Luthor because the hot water. Lois decides to do a stupid thing by putting her own son in jeopardy just because she wants the big scoop of who's on that boat. And she finds out it's Lex Luthor. just as I guessed. Time to go, son. Oh, this is gonna make a great school. Oh no, I'm trapped. I put my own son in life insurance because I was too thirsty to get the story of who's behind all of this. And Chaos and says, Lizard explains his evil plan is to make Suman really busy to save everyone. But he only explains his plan that's a diversion off screen. He explains his diversion on screen. His real plan is not explained on screen because that's going to be a surprise what his real plan is. So, after Suman saves the town and the city, and saves Metropolis and everyone in Metropolis, while Metropolis is going out of chaos. He goes to save Lois and Lois' son, who we find out he starts acting a little weird when he's around kryptonite. And then he says, Lex Luthor knows that, and he says, whose father is that? And he says this guy. She says his name. He says, are you sure? And he just like says, and he leaves because the kid threw a piano at the guy and knocked him unconscious, and says, oh boy, we gotta go. Because he realizes he kidnaps not only Superman's love of his life, but his kid. So Superman he's gonna show no mercy to him once he finds it out. And you know what? He doesn't really, when he gets to Lex, he's just like all pissed and ready to kick ass. And so after he saves his kid and also Lois' boyfriend, who's Lois' boyfriend, which is her husband, who doesn't know that that's not really his kid, but Superman's kid. But he's curious that it's Superman's kid. She just wants him to not talk about it. She doesn't want to talk about it because she knows that that's Superman's kid. And Superman knows, but you know, he just says he's and I love how Superman looked at Superman's kid looked at his inhaler after throwing the piano. He just realized he's like the inhaler gives me strength. He gives that stupid look like the inhales all the answer to his problems. No, you're not. You have super strength. You kid, you're stupid. You're Superman's son. It's like he didn't pick up on any of these like hints. Seeing the one where he can lift that piano and throw it at the thing like it's butter, like nothing. Throw it at just to save his mother from being killed by this goon. And he throws that goon and it's like it's nothing. So when Lex Luthor takes off and goes to this island. And I'll tell you what you guys make out. First he saves Lois and her family, which is his family, and from crashing, from sinking, and you see Lois' husband is a pilot, and he flew to save her, and she thinks, and her son thinks that it's going to be Superman, but really it's really the guy that is her husband and nothing more. So it's not as emotional as you would think. In fact, just pretty bland comes off, and the emotions come pretty bland, forgettable, because you really wanted them to have that you really want to be assuming, he doesn't come clean as his father or doesn't kiss one another. It would just be emotional to see him like go to save his families. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't it be? Because he's doing it because he's living up the expectation of him being a good father, right? But anyway, he realized late. He goes there, but he realized late, and he says, "Give me your hand." And as soon as Song starts, as he shows him, as the Superman song starts singing, says, "Give me your hand," and he saves him and puts him in the helicopter. And he goes off to face Lex Luthor and his gang, and turns out the iron's made out of pure kryptonite. And Superman brutally gets beaten up, and then to a point where he gets like, stabbed by Lex Luthor, and he breaks the kryptonite in his rib cage, and he tells him, "Now fly," and pushes him off the cliff. And it's really a heartbreaking scene. So Lois Lane takes some of the kryptonite, but didn't got all of the kryptonite out. We find out at the end, as Superman's year death. Like, really year death. So he goes back to lift the island of kryptonite while Lex Luthor is still on it. And decides to throw the kryptonite island in the sun, and hopefully that Lex Luthor died, but he didn't. He escaped, and Superman fall to his death and made this big blast. He had to go to the hospital, and as he was dying, and he's dying, and because there's more kryptonite, more little pieces of kryptonite in him, so they got all of it out, and we're just hoping that he's going to pull through. And Superman's son asks, "Is he going to be okay?" And Lois says, "I don't know. I don't know." And he says, and the kid says, "I hope so. I liked him." And it's so touching because he really likes his father, and he wants him to be okay. He doesn't know that it's his father. And he draws a picture of her mother and Superman and her father outside. And he draws a picture of him and his family and Superman in that picture. And I remember reading a touching thing, at least I think he does that. Anyway, so Superman's fine. He checks out of the hospital and takes his clothes and stops by at Lois's house and says goodnight to his son as he's sleeping. And he goes off into space and flies off into space, and before he does that, he says that he lets Lois Lane that he's fine, and he's fine. He's gonna be fine. So Lois know that he's okay, and then he says goodnight to his son as his son's asleep, and he goes off flying in the air, and credits roll. And that was when he smiles to the camera, like all the other previous ones before it. And this and Superman 3 is my two favorite Superman movies. Mm-hmm. So I really love this movie. I give this a thumbs up. I think this might be my favorite movie of Superman, live action theatrical Superman movie, and Superman 3 would be my second favorite.